Hey guys, happy Easter Saturday. If you're watching from the US, it's probably still Easter Friday, depending on if you manage to get in and watch this video right when I upload it. Anyways, Bitcoin on the monthly time frame hasn't really changed. I mean, this new month is only 4 days. What can you expect? Same with the weekly time frame. BX Trender is still green. We are still green on the daily weekly candle. We haven't taken out the low of the previous week, nor broken the high of the previous week, so it's an inside bar. On the daily time frame, you can see something a little interesting is happening. We have seen our 3-day up signal. Whether you consider this low significant or not is up to you. I think Michael Pizzino has made a video talking about the 3-day up and 3-day down signal and how to use it. I'm not sure if that's public or not. You can probably search his channel, but he has posted it in the TIA Premium Discord multiple times. So if you're in there, check that one out. And regardless, I've found, even if it's not a significant low, the 3 days up signal usually leads to the next sell-off forming a higher low and there to be at least one more leg up. Now, in a bear market, that one more leg up obviously can only be an additional 1, 2, or 3% up, but it still means this high here is very likely to be broken. Unless, of course, we see this low broken, in which case it would be a failed signal. Now, being an Easter weekend, I wouldn't really take volume seriously. Like, what can you really expect? Everyone's on holidays, except me and you, obviously, if you're watching this video. The daily BX trender is back to dark red and forming lower lows, which obviously is expected since yesterday was a big sell-off. Today, obviously being the Easter Friday candle, I'm not surprised that it's gone nowhere. But one little interesting quirk is if you jump down to the 4-hour time frame, you might be able to see it on the daily, but it's a bit clearer on the 4-hour. Is this diagonal trend line here? We are actually setting up for a 4th time breakout. And since price is holding the 33 fair value band, also known as the market bias, it's slightly different. The THT fair value bands indicator is pretty much a revision of the market bias. Peter's gone through and tweaked the settings a bit and made it a bit more reliable, gives you a bit less false signals. But basically, if price is managing to hold this band, it's obviously a lot more bullish than if price is continuously testing the -1 standard deviation band. So I do believe if price manages to wick or peak its head above this trend line here, around 67.6, and that would line up with around the top of the fair value band. If we manage to get some price action there, we could potentially be setting us up to test the +1 and +2 standard deviation band around 70k and 73k. Now, I've talked about these upside price targets many times, so I won't go over them again. And obviously, I am still tweaking my short-term strategy on the 1 hour and 15-minute charts, so I won't cover them in this video. But if we jump over to CoinGlass and we have a look at the exchange liquidation heat map, you can see based on this last day, it actually looks like we've got a slight long bias in the market, even though the 24-hour is pretty balanced. And if you look at the exchange liquidation, it is pretty balanced, but it just looks like there's ever so slightly a long bias in the market. Now, obviously, hyperliquid, the opposite is true. It looks like we've got a pretty substantial short bias in the market. And if you zoom out slightly beyond the 7-day and look at, say, the 30-day or the 90-day, you can see we've got a whole bunch of long-term short positions that are piling up and expecting another move down. Now, Peter talked about this a bit in his live stream, I think it was last weekend or something, about the BX trender diverging on stocks. And that's something to note where if price is selling off, making lower highs and lower lows, but the BX trender is making higher highs and higher lows, or in this case, just higher highs. It often means a snap reversal is not far away. And this is also what Jason's been talking about in his channel, where it just looks like, we're pretty much due for a substantial rally. And I've been talking about, 80, 85K, 76, 77K for quite a while now, because it just feels like, if you jump over to the Bitcoin fear and greed indicator, right here, you can see, look at like where the fear is. We haven't seen fear and greed readings this low since, ever pretty much. I remember we got some of the lowest readings in history through February when Bitcoin came down to 60K. Obviously, we bounced a bit from there, but the fear is still ridiculous, even though price is, on the daily at least, making slightly higher lows. Now, if you look at it from a Wyckoff perspective, obviously it's not great. We're making lower highs from the wick up, which is not ideal. And obviously that wick up closed back below the high of the previous move, also not great. We're below the trend line, we're actually below 2 trend lines. So price action right now isn't great, but from where the market is fundamentally, with the Iran crisis and obviously Trump talking, it feels like there's subtle insider buying, at least to my eyes, on the weekly time frame. You can see every sell-off on Trump saying something or Iran saying something is getting bought back up at a slightly higher low. So couple that with a bit of TIA time analysis from Jason and everything, and fear and greed sentiment readings, and it just feels like we're due for a major pump. Now, obviously, we did get bear market rallies in 2022. If you want to call 2023 a bear market rally or the start of a bull market, that's up to you, but I won't get too deep into that in this video. Before I wrap up, I'll take a quick look at the liquidation max pain levels. You can see on the daily, we are pretty tight, around 1% on both sides. The 2-day and 3-day, not much of a difference. The weekly, we've got 69.5 and 65.5. 2-week, not a big difference. On the monthly, you can still see we've got 65 and 75K to contend with. So still not much to talk about. One thing to note is since our last sell-off has just missed the monthly max pain for longs, I do believe that increases the chance we'll hit the monthly max pain for shorts. Again, that's analysis I've been using on this channel for months and months now. But before I continue any further, let's have a quick look at the S&P 500. You can see we have managed to see a bit of a recovery into the close yesterday. Obviously, it is only a 4-day week with Good Friday. We haven't reset the swing, which is something I am looking for to complete this 2025 fractal. Obviously, history doesn't have to repeat, it just rhymes. If we jump down to the daily time frame, you can see we're setting up something pretty similar where we've retested resistance a few times on the daily swings, and eventually it gets weaker and we're unable to retest the 33 fair value band from the underside. You can see retest, sell off, doesn't quite manage to retest, and you get like this capitulation. So you can obviously go and have a look at some of Peter DiCarlo's X posts, and he's pretty much saying the same thing. And if I jump over to, I believe, chart analysis, probably shouldn't be showing you this since this was only tagged to paying members, but you can see that we've pretty much tapped his liquidity zone that he talked about in his YouTube videos over on Traders Helping Traders, and we've sold off from there. So technically, we have retested the liquidity zone as resistance. Whether we manage to squeeze a little bit more next week into the fair value bands is obviously up to the market and probably what Trump says. So whether we just absolutely capitulate from here and that leads to Bitcoin confirming this as a distribution pattern and us, retesting the $50,000 range or perhaps lower is still to be seen. But right now, I am still bullish on Bitcoin until we start to get, this low taken out and obviously this low taken out. Obviously, that low is still over a 10% move away. And if you are in a Bitcoin position, you would be losing nearly $7,000 per Bitcoin before you start to see some confirmation. And obviously, the next area to look for resistance is only around $8,000 below that. So you could end up having a break-even trade, which is why I will be keeping a very close eye on the 4-hour time frame. Once we start to, once this fourth time breakout signal fails, or we just start breaking down on the lower term time frames, I will probably start closing my long and going short. But if I do anything like that, I will update you guys. And for now, thank you all for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Goodbye.